comes from Gold Might.
The boy, the editor.
Man.
John's editor. All right, we got quite a long one, so let's get into it. He
It's
says,
a novel, lock in.
another hot take by me. Many Pokemon fans really need to play other games. And no, I don't even mean play Monster Hunter, Pal World, Digimon, or any multi-monster series. I mean literally anything else that you might just slightly fancy that isn't related to a yellow rat and a game like Pong. If you all have it a slight interest in shapes. Because I can't help but felt I went through such a toxic phase as a Pokemon fan last year, all because we have to wait a whole year for a new entry. It all weirds me out how when Pokemon does something different, every knee jerk is always negative due to the lack of points of reference from a previous Pokemon game. Like ZA, setting as a game in one city is immediately bad, all because they only have XY as their only points of reference. Never factor the whole game's set in one city can exist, and that you can just always just make a bigger Lumiose.
Honestly, we might call it the Rocket Roast, but like I kind of agree with all these points.
Rocket respects.
Rocket respect.
Okay.
I agree. I kind of want to roast everybody who exclusively just plays Pokemon. I mean, I don't want to be that guy who's like, you have to play a bunch of different games, but I feel like if you only play Pokemon and then like you either use that to just complain about Pokemon or like always just kind of like bootlick them, it's not a good look. It's not a good look regardless. Like, the people who are like, Scarlet and Violet looks fine. I have no problem with it. It runs great. You know, it's just the Switch being underpowered, yada yada. Tell me you haven't played another Switch game in your entire life, bro. Like, actually, tell me you never played Zelda. Tell me you never played Xenoblade. Like, honestly, it's just...
Like, I will say, if you only like Pokemon games, that's fine. If it's a preference thing where, like, you're not really interested in, like, a Mario or Zelda or anything, that's fine. If you just like Pokemon, because there are Pokemon fans who, like, they just like Pokemon and that's what they like. They're not really like gamers, really. Like, you technically are a gamer, but they don't like play other games. They just play Pokemon. That's fine. But like you said, John, to use like you only liking Pokemon games or you only playing Pokemon games as a way to kind of judge other Pokemon games, it ain't really the wave, bro. Like, actually try something else, you know?
Or like people being like, oh, this generation of Pokemon is so good, but this other generation of Pokemon is so bad. I feel like the difference between generations is so marginal. But if you've only played Pokemon and only ever played Pokemon, like the worst Pokemon game is like Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, and that's like a 6 out of 10. And then the best Pokemon game is like an 8 out of 10, maybe. Like it's taking up such a little amount of the scale, right?
Yeah.
But like if you've only ever played Pokemon games, then that scale just feels so much more massive.
BDSP is gonna be like 1 out of 10.
BDSP is a 1 out of 10, and Legends Arceus is a 10 out of 10. You know, like that sort of thing.
And I think to add to that, like, I always would recommend, you know, if you only play Pokemon games, totally fine. I always recommend widen your spectrum on games. Just get different perspective from different genres, different environments, different, you know, just types of games. Like, I love Pokemon, obviously, but if I were to like not even think really hard, Pokemon actually doesn't enter like my top 10 favorite games of all time. It just doesn't, because then comparatively to other big scale games, like, Pokemon's good within itself.
It's a sentimental favorite, but I don't think anybody is arguing that like it's one of the objectively best franchises like ever made.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot more games out there, and I feel like once you play some other games, you get a better perspective of, oh, Pokemon actually it's not that crazy. Reel it in a bit, and like we're saying, it's marginally like it's very small how different those games actually are compared to each other. And when you're pulling minuscule things like trees for your like argument, dog, go play something else. Go play anything else.
Yeah, I agree. Like, literally what Jalil's saying, like, even playing drastically different games on different consoles, like you guys
FIFA on the Switch.
Crazy
word. Crazy word.
Like, even, like, Xbox, Halo, like, even I love playing the shooting games as well, and always used to love playing fighting games. And even though I'm a massive Pokemon fan, it gives you just a different aspectonality on games in general. So like, don't always just put everything in one basket and just rely on Pokemon being the sole purpose for what you think is going to be your best gaming experience. It's like what Jalil said. Like, even when I used to play Fable, bro, back on the Xbox 360, back when I think that was maybe Diamond and Pearl came out, or maybe even just before Black and White. The change in like how the graphics and how you can explore games, and just you don't feel limited because you get in that open world aspect aspect of all the different RPG character elements as well. So yeah, definitely jump on that.
What I
Play
will
the
say
game,
as
bro.
well,
People as well.
what I will say, like the beauty of Pokemon is like Pokemon is more than just like the main series games, you know, the generational games, remakes, this and that, and the other.
It's like a
games as
massive
well.
part of life now, basically.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
your favorite Pokemon can be a plush, it can be in the anime, it can be wherever, you know. Like
There's
Pokemon's
a
like
lot.
unavoidable.
There's
There's more
a
to
lot.
it than just the game.
And-
So, like, if you want to say like the franchise of Pokemon is great, and like that's your defining thing, sure. But like, if that's the only game you're playing, also another point that Gold might made here that I severely agree with is the whole like. They throw a hissy fit because it's like, and I've seen this on Twitter all year long, where it's like, we need to have ZA news right now. We need to have all the megas in the timeline right now. We need to have a new trailer every month, like Sun and Moon. No, we don't.
No.
Pokemon
Different
fans,
era, bro. It's
Bro.
a different era.
there are
Bro,
these people who only
Metroid
play
fans
Pokemon
would
games.
never. All
They
right.
don't realize how spoiled they are. They actually don't
Facts.
realize how spoiled they are. Because, like, so many other franchises go years in the dark without hearing anything new. What was the last, like, big 3D Mario game? Like, Odyssey? What was that, 2017?
Yeah,
That was
I
a
think
long
so.
time ago,
Yeah.
bro. That was a long time ago. I mean, yes, there's been other Mario spin-off games since then, and like
There's
the 2D
Mario
Mario.
Wonder that came out not too
Yeah.
long ago, but still. And even before that, what was the last 2D Mario since Wonder? Was it
Yeah.
3D? Oh no, Super
3D.
Mario, New
3D.
Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS, I think, was the last one. Maybe, I don't know, something like that, or the Wii U one. Oh, it was the Wii U one. Ew. Yeah, other franchises, they got it a lot rougher than Pokemon. Usually, like, it's around 5 to 6 years before you get like a new installment. Pokemon pumps out something
And
every single year, and it kind of
People
made the
act
fans
like
spoiled.
the 2-year gap is like the end of the world. Like from the Scarlet and Violet DLC to Legend ZA, it's absurd.
That
man.
crazy. Like you guys were
Embarrassing,
saying,
bro.
some people wait years for like news on certain games, and it's not that deep. And honestly, as we're seeing more, if we give Pokemon the proper time and they decide to make the time to then, hey, let us cook. We really should be like focusing on give you guys, instead of, you know, quantity, let's give you more quality games that you guys can enjoy, that look finished, feel finished, run good.
That's the
in the long
problem,
run.
Jaleel. That's the problem. I think a lot of Pokemon fans, at least the ones that I've seen in the online sphere, they don't care about getting a quality
they don't.
game. They just want more Pokemon. They just want more Pokemon slop. That's all they want.
The
That's
cycle
me.
continues. They want more games, and then the game comes out. It does not run as great, or there's like a feature they don't love that's in the game, and then they complain, and then we come back to the circle where we're now waiting for the next game. And we're like, oh, we can't wait for it to come out. We should have let them cook. Next thing comes out, it looks like garbage, and then it's just a whole cycle over and over again.
Like this
So,
thing is like everybody going to
Bunch of
demand
it.
for like, oh, we need to have Sinnoh remakes right now, and then they come out and they look terrible, and then people complain about it, and it's like, maybe just slow your
Play
roll,
something
dog.
else.
Yeah,
Really
I will say it's
something.
like when it comes to Pokemon, like there's a lot you can take from Pokemon that'll hopefully help inspire you to play other games, because I see Pokemon as great as a franchise it is, and I love it. Obviously, it can also be seen as like a gateway franchise where, like, because of all the spin-off stuff and in main series stuff, like there are other games that play similarly, like just somewhere else. It's just not Pokemon. Like there's Pokemon puzzle games. You can use that to kind of like get an interest in other puzzle games. There's obviously Pokemon's an RPG, so if you like RPGs, you know how many RPGs are out there? Like, play some of those.
Yeah.
Like, it's not Pokemon, but it plays like in the style and the battles are turn-based, similar to Pokemon. So it's like it's a way for you to like not play Pokemon but still have some of the elements that you like, but just so like you can see how other games and other like studios, you know, run their things. It's not just Pokemon solely. And it's funny because like seeing this this message from Goldminer, it really does, like, I feel like reflect how I used to be, but in regards to the anime, because you guys know, like, all I watched was like Dragon Ball, Pokemon. I literally reviewed Pokemon, and then I finally started watching other anime, and like, oh wow, like, this is actually good. And then it changed, like, I don't want to say it made me think the Pokemon anime is worse, but it made me, you know, like you said, John, it's like the comparison. If you just play Pokemon games, like, you know, the way you view them is drastically different. But like, that's kind of how I was with the anime. It's like, you know, I had my scale from 1 to 10 or whatever. But that's just based on Pokemon episodes. But if I were to compare like a 10 out of 10 Pokemon episode to like a 10 out of 10 Attack on Titan or One Piece episode, it don't really
but
compare.
You're gonna bring Aaron
No.
Yeager back in the chat, bro.
It does not compare. It
So
does not.
I think it's helpful to like broaden your horizons, not to be like, oh, look how much Pokemon sucks, but to just to see what other things are out there.
Yeah.
Don't just be limited to just one sole thing and make that your personality, you know?
Open that scope. Open that scope.
You
I
can
hard
appreciate
agree.
Pokemon and be a
Development
Pokemon
arc.
fan while playing other games.
Yeah,
like,
exactly that, right?
and also you
Why-
could be a Pokemon fan without being a bootlicker too. Like, that's another.
And I think as well, like when you look at other things, either like other animes or other video games, it's always cool to see things that have similar inspirations to things that Pokemon takes inspiration from, if that makes sense. Because you know, like Pokemon is a big thing. They take inspiration from lots of things for their world, their environment, their creatures. So it's also cool when you watch something totally different, but have a similar inspiration. Be like, whoa, I know that because of Pokemon. You wouldn't have like caught that or appreciate something more because of that. Like biggest example for me, it's like obviously I love Greninja. It's been my favorite Pokemon since it came out basically, but I gained more appreciation from it just from seeing it in other games like Smash Bros. And like when I watched Naruto, and obviously the inspiration for Jiraiya, like Jiraiya the Gallant, the actual like folk tale was used for inspiration for Greninja, and it's like, wow, that's cool. That's something I probably wouldn't have caught or appreciated more about my favorite Pokemon if I didn't like watch something else that wasn't Pokemon, you know?
Yeah, I do like your idea of using Pokemon as a gateway to other games, right? I think of like Legends Arceus, right? If you know, maybe you start dipping into Zelda, you know, Breath of the Wild, etc. If you really just love RPGs, there's like Persona, or dive into like Xenoblade. If you love the puzzle games, there's like tons of options there. I feel like utilize those key features to break out into these different spheres, and then you can be like, there's some bangers out here outside of Pokemon, and like you just see what's really out there. And that's gonna be great. If you love Pokken, let me tell you, Pokken only exists because Tekken does. Like you're gonna be able to find stuff that correlates, and that's gonna be even better, or might just kind of dive you into other franchises. So like I think that's really a great way to like bridge it up a bit. Play this stuff.
Go for a character development arc with video games.
Good take, Gold Miner. For once, we're not roasting somebody.
Rocket respects.
Rocket respects today. Rocket respects. Good take.